Okay, let's dive right into this. If you've ever thought about starting a business, I don't care if it's a food truck or a software company, you have absolutely wrestled with this one massive, kind of terrifying question. How big should it be? I mean, you build too big, you're broke. You build too small, and you're just leaving cash on the table. So today, we are breaking down the playbook for getting it just right.
So what is that biggest nightmare? Is it having this beautiful, expensive, totally empty store with not a single customer in sight? Or is it having a line of customers snaking out the door, people you just can't serve, who get frustrated, walk away, and maybe never come back?
This right here is what we call the capacity tightrope. It's a tricky balancing act. On one side, you've got way too much capacity. You've invested in the huge kitchen, a big staff, tons of inventory, but the demand just isn't there. All that money is just sitting, losing value. But on the other side, you've got way more demand than you can possibly handle. And yeah, that sounds like a good problem to have, but really it just means lost sales and unhappy customers who are going straight to your competition.
We've just talked about this capacity tightrope, and to walk it successfully, you need a game plan. So we're going to use a 4-part playbook. First, we'll see the big picture. Then, we'll pick our gamble. After that, we'll do the math, and we'll finish up with a really critical reality check.
All right, let's jump into play number 1, see the big picture. When you're facing a really complex problem, the first instinct for a lot of people is to dive right into the tiny, tiny details. But honestly, that's the biggest mistake you can make here. The first step is always to zoom out and just look at the whole landscape.
And this is where a really smart concept called aggregated planning comes in. So instead of agonizing over, say, how many tacos versus how many burritos your food truck needs to make, you plan at a much higher level. You just ask, how many total meals can we serve per day? See? It simplifies the whole problem and lets you make these big strategic decisions without getting totally overwhelmed by the small stuff. Now, this is where that big picture starts to look like a real plan. This table, it's like your crystal ball. It helps you see into the future, month by month. You're constantly comparing what you think customers will want against what you can actually deliver. The real art here is keeping that planned capacity number just a little bit ahead of your forecasted demand. That small surplus you see, that's your safety net. It makes sure you're always ready, but without being wasteful. This is your strategic blueprint.
Okay, with that big picture in mind, we get to our next huge decision in play number 2. Pick your gamble. And this is all about timing, right? You know you're going to need to grow eventually, but when do you pull the trigger? Do you build up more capacity before customers even show up, or do you wait until they're basically knocking down your door?
So this whole thing boils down to 2 main strategies. You can either lead or you can lag. A leading strategy means you add capacity before the demand really hits. The good thing, you're always ready, which is awesome for customer service. The bad thing, it's risky, because if that demand never shows up, you're stuck with costly, idle resources. Now, a lagging strategy is the total opposite. You wait until the demand is proven, which is much lower risk, but you're pretty much guaranteed to lose some sales while you're scrambling to catch up.
A leading strategy. This one's for the bold. It's the classic Silicon Valley move, right? Build the servers before the users arrive. In really fast-moving industries like tech or high fashion, if you're not ready on day 1, that customer is gone for good. You're basically betting that the demand will be there, even if it means your shiny second food truck sits empty for the first month.
Then you've got the lagging strategy. This is for the cautious operator. It's often the smart play in industries with really high startup costs, like manufacturing. You just can't afford to have a billion-dollar factory sitting idle. You wait for proven orders before you build. You just have to accept that you'll probably miss that initial surge, but you'll only invest when you know for sure it's going to pay off.
Of course, it's not just black and white. There's also a middle ground, and it's called capacity smoothing. So instead of making one giant leap, you add capacity in smaller, more frequent steps. Maybe you don't buy a whole new truck, but you hire one extra part-time person just for that weekend rush. It's a great way to track demand more closely and balance that risk with being responsive.
Okay, so we've got our big picture plan, and we've chosen our strategic gamble. Now it's time for play number 3, do the math. We got to move from theory to actual numbers and figure out exactly when our big decisions are going to start making us money.
The tool for this is break-even analysis. It's really designed to find that one magic number, the exact point where your total revenue equals your total costs. To figure this out, you have to know your fixed costs. Things that don't change, like the loan payment on your food truck. And you need to know your variable costs, like the ingredients for each meal, which go up with every single sale you make. Just look at how this plays out for our food truck. At 50 meals a day, we're in the red. We're losing money. Even at 100 meals, we're still not there yet. But watch what happens as we get to 150 meals sold. A switch just flips. Our revenue finally covers every single cost. We hit zero. That, my friends, is the break-even point.
And this is the number that matters, 150. This brilliantly illustrates the power of this analysis. It transforms this vague hope of making a profit into a concrete, actionable target. You now know exactly what you need to aim for every single day.
But we're not done, not by a long shot, because a perfect spreadsheet does not guarantee a perfect business. And this brings us to our final and maybe our most important step, play number 4, the reality check. The real world is messy, and we have to look way beyond the numbers.
So, the crucial point here is that your plan has to survive contact with reality. I mean, what if a rival food truck parks right across the street? That's a competitor move. What if your main avocado supplier has a bad harvest? That's supplier reliability. Can you even find skilled people to hire? That's the labor market. These other factors, from government regulations to your own big-picture strategy, can completely change the game. Your break-even analysis might say you need a second truck, but if you can't get a permit for it, the numbers just don't matter.
So there you have it, the capacity planning playbook. You see the big picture with aggregated planning. You pick your gamble between leading or lagging. You do the math to find your break-even point, and then you temper it all with a serious dose of reality. So now the question comes back to you. It's your business, your market, your money. What's your play going to be?